Hello, good evening to you. Welcome. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live on YouTube here at Desawe Kanda. Also live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, DSTV channel 279, all across the world on 3news.com. I am Alfred Ocansey. Tonight, Parliament is gradually making progress with the anti-LGBTQ plus bill after the Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee has made some changes and recommendations to it for passage. Tonight, we look at this recommendations which are critical, and we'll speak to some of the proponents of this bill. Stay with us. The Jubilee House has conceded there are over 1,000 employees who work for the Jubilee House, but it gives a breakdown of the numbers. We have the details for you, including a reaction from a member of parliament who has always raised concerns about this matter. Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa joins us on Ghana Tonight. Also, they stay with Parliament a bit. They are racing against time to do a lot before it rises, possibly tomorrow. We'll look at what may likely happen in the House, which bills may see the light of day, and how the numbers game will play out tomorrow. Parliamentary correspondent Kamala Kloche is with us here on Ghana Tonight. Stay with us. Always, let's hear from you. The hashtag we're using is Ghana Tonight on Facebook and Twitter. Let's get talking. We have the details of what's happening in Parliament and what is going to be happening in the coming hours. Stay with us, we're getting to it. Some changes have been proposed to the anti-LGBTQ plus bill. There's no Q in the alphabet and there's no I. You want to know why? Stay with us, we're getting to it. Let's settle for Ghana Briefs. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has charged Parliament to act right by speeding the passage of the three revenue bills. He is of the view its passage will help government mobilize revenue to help its transactions with the International Monetary Fund, IMF. Ken Ofori-Atta was speaking at the official launch of the online tax clearance rolled out by the Ghana Revenue Authority in Accra.
Parliament, in the national interest, will pass these bills before the close of the week, and it will not be seen as disloyalty to any one party.
Professor of Political Science at the University of Ghana, Legon, Professor Ransford Jampo, has described as untenable a proposal by the 2020 elections campaign manager of the NPP, Peter McMahon, that the 1992 Constitution be amended to allow political parties appoint replacements for sitting MPs who die or resign.
Political parties have no business to be asked to handpick people to go represent their interest on the floor of Parliament should a member of Parliament, die or resign. The requirement in representative democracy is that it is the constituents who have that power.
The Electricity Company of Ghana is expected to release a power outage timetable to guide consumers as gas supply to some power plants is going to be affected for the next 14 days. This is due to a shutdown of the Atuabo gas processing plant in the Western region, which is expected to ensure efficiency of the gas processing plant. The anti-LGBTQI bill has moved one step closer to becoming law after the Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee in Parliament recommended its passage. This was after the committee made changes to the original draft bill based on the over 100 memoranda received from the public. Management of the University of Ghana, Legon, has described as misleading claims by some members of parliament that the institution has disregarded a court order asking it to halt its new residential policy. In a statement, the university indicates that the new residential policy was implemented even before the order of injunction, and that allocation of rooms to fresh students assigned to the Common Hall ceased immediately the court injunction was given.
the bill will be passed. This is the word to His Excellency the President. There is no way he can intervene. That answer he gave. That is now before Parliament. And when he gets to a stage that he will come, hey, please. This is legislation. This is not execution.
And now,
the bill will be passed. This is the word to His Excellency the President. There is no way he can intervene. That answer he gave. That is now before Parliament. And when he gets to a stage that he will come, hey, please. This is legislation. This is not execution.
And now, after the Speaker dared the Legal Committee to not be afraid and present its recommendation on the draft bill, they have acted. At a review of the draft bill, the Legal Committee has recommended some changes to the bill in an 18-page document that is now due for consideration by the entire floor of the House. The bill will punish teaching or inducing a child into sexual acts other than what it calls the binary category of male or female, or anyone who evokes the interests of the child in an activity prohibited under the Act to not less than 6 years in prison and not more than 10 years in prison.
Well, there's been a number of changes proposed to this anti-LGBTQ plus bill. Stay with us here on Ghana Tonight, because my colleague Dennis Wadam has been studying this 18-page proposal by the Parliamentary Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee that was charged with the responsibility of going through this particular bill, and is expected to be laid before the House tomorrow. One of the proposed amendments to the original bill is the name of the bill itself, which has a proposal has been made for it to be changed. Also, the alphabet in there, LGBTQIB++. There's been a proposal for some of the alphabets to be taken out. And it's not just alphabet, because look, they represent a particular group within the LGBTQ community. So for instance, there's been a proposal for I to be taken out. That's the intersex. And then Q, which also represent the queer people, to be taken out. Stay with us. We'll tell you why. And also engage a lawyer who is also a member of Parliament for the South Dike constituency, Nelson Rossing Dafiamekwa. He's a member of the Legal and Constitutional Affairs Committee of Parliament. We want to understand what went into these proposed amendments and whether there was consensus on that matter. We'll get into it. But the number of political appointees at the office of the president has increased from 337 last year to 361 this year. This is in addition to 687 civil and public servants at the office of the president. The office of the president released, in fact, the Jubilee House released a statement earlier today giving this breakdown. That's what you see behind me. I'm going to put it on the screen shortly. The total staff is 1,048. And the breakdown they gave in this statement is that the political appointees are 361. So that's up from 337 last year to 361. Then, other public sector workers who have been assigned to the Jubilee House, 687, and that includes a number of portfolios, including even cleaners and others as well. Then, under this 361 political appointees, the breakdown they give is the senior presidential staff is 44 and ministers of state 2. Then you have people who work physically at the Jubilee House, 163, and those who work in assigned offices outside of the Jubilee House, 193. This is what is contained in this statement. There's a statement from the Jubilee House giving details on this. This statement we have a copy of that you see right behind me here. Okay? This came from the Jubilee House a few hours ago, giving details of these appointments. You recall that one member of Parliament who's been very consistent about this particular issue of the bloated numbers or the staff at the Jubilee House, which he raises concerns about how this is impacting on a public purse because of the economic situation we find ourselves in, is Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa. He's going to be joining us right after this quick break on Ghana Tonight to get a reaction to this, because if this provides some clarity as again what he's been talking about over the period, we'll hear that, because he puts out some of the appointments which he says it doesn't really serve the good of the nation. So for instance, take a look at this. He talks about Youth Ambassador for Diaspora Affairs, Policy Associate, Chief Executive of Public Sector Reforms, Overseer of the National Cathedral, Church Relations Manager. They are all part of the appointments at the Jubilee House. Then there's Policy and Coordinator Analyst, Focal Person La Francophonie. Then there's Manager of Operations and Programs, 5 Technical Communications Assistants. Then you also have the Presidential Staffer in charge of NAPCO. I don't know if this still exists, because NAPCO is ended and the people are still waiting for the allowances. The last time we checked up, they owed about 9 months or so. Data Manager, Technical Director to the Presidential Advisor on Media. Look, there are quite a lot of them, right? So we will get a reaction right after this quick break. And then also, we'll stay the radar on this proposed amendments to the anti-LGBTQ plus bill after this quick break. Stay with us.
Win your share of over 3 million Ghana cedis worth of prizes whenever you buy a bottle of Guinness, Star, or Origin. Dial *1000# to submit the code under the crown, and you can win cash, free airtime, and drinks. So look sharp. This advert is FDA approved. Drink responsibly. Not for sale to persons under the age of 18 years. Not recommended for pregnant women.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to demonstrate to you the superior properties of Flamingo paint as compared to other paint brands on the market. We take equal quantities of Flamingo paint and this ordinary paint. We then dilute them with water. And now, let the test begin. The gentleman on the left is going to apply the ordinary paint, and the gentleman on my right will use the Flamingo Superior paint. As you can clearly see, Flamingo has the obvious better hiding. Furthermore, Flamingo has painted a much larger area. You know, 1 bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint is made with superior formulation to give superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, simply superior.
At long last, Blue Jays Vodka makes a market. Blue Jays Vodka makes Numbi a fine.
Look, the guys are chilling with Blue Jays Vodka mix. Wow!
Numbi a tasty.
Can we join you guys? We are all single. I'm fine.
Blue Jays Vodka makes, and we are dead, and we are ham. Feeling room. Enjoy the unique taste of Blue Jays Vodka mix. Blue Jays Vodka mix Numbi a fine.
Blue Jays Vodka mix. Blue Jays Vodka mix.
Numuni nyansem wonton manimpa woni mfie don wotwe. Ensesa apemfo no.
You are a major stakeholder in nation building. Your voice matters. Start your day with us.
We simplify the conversations, break down the jargons and technicalities. We keep you well informed throughout the week. Start your day with us.
Knowledge is power. We put you in the know of the happenings in Ghana and the world over. The main reason why you need to start your day with us. We give the leaders the mandate to govern our affairs. We have a responsibility to hold them to account. It begins here. Start your day with us. Good morning, Ghana, Africa, and the rest of the wonderful world. Welcome to Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. Start your day well informed. Start with us on Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. Catch the all-new Sunrise Morning Show with me, Johnny Hughes, Helen Apiampofo, William Asiedu, and Noble Crosbyan. Weekdays from 5:55 a.m. to 10 a.m. only on 3FM 92.7. Your urban lifestyle radio.
Celebrate with the Guinness Air Bottle promo. From today, win your share of over 3 million Ghana cedis worth of prizes whenever you buy a bottle of Guinness, Star, or Origin. Dial *1000# to submit the code under the crown, and you can win cash, free airtime, and drinks. So, look sharp. This advert is FDA approved. Drink responsibly, not for sale to persons under the age of 18 years. Not recommended for pregnant women.
When it comes to the world of sport,
FDA Ajay Kratoyatum. At long last, Blue Jays Vodka makes a market. Blue Jays Vodka makes Numbi a fine.
Look, the guys are chilling with Blue Jeans Vodka mix.
Wow!
Numbi a tasty.
Charlie, twatting. Can we join you guys? We are all single. I'm fine.
Blue Jays Vodka makes and we are dead and we are ham. Feeling room. Enjoy the unique taste of Blue Jays Vodka mix. Blue Jays Vodka mix Numbi a fine.
Blue Jeans Vodka mix. Blue Jeans Vodka mix.
Numuni Nyansem, one ton money in power in fear don't watch it. And says happening for no. We
It's okay. Welcome back. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live on TV Ghana on Facebook, DSTV channel 279, all across the world on 3news.com. Now, we got a statement from the Jubilee House earlier today and giving details of the number of staff that have been appointed or seconded to the Jubilee House. That's the statement that you see on the screen there, essentially saying that pursuant to Section 11 of the Presidential Office Act 1993, Act 463, the President of the Republic goes on, has submitted to Parliament the annual report on the staffing position of the Office of the President for the period 1st January to 31st December 2022. In fact, the area that's of importance is the number of persons who have been appointed there. So you see the breakdown. That's what you see on the screen. The total staff, 1,048. Political appointees, 361. That's an increase from 337 the previous year. So the whole of last year, there was an addition to the number of political appointees at the Jubilee House from 337 to 361. So 24 additional appointments. And that was in 2022. And questions have been raised because this was a time when there were concerns about the state of the economy, and there were calls for government to cut down the size and then also reduce the number of appointments. During the period of 2022, we had 24 additional presidential staffers appointed at the Jubilee House. Then you have the ministers of state 2, and then you have those who work physically there, 163, and then those who are assigned from other offices, 193. It raises that critical and crucial question about the commitment on the part of government to cut down expenditure through these appointments, and then also the call by the finance minister for Parliament to approve these revenue bills because we need it going into the IMF. And when you listen to the business community, they raise questions about what government is also doing in regard. And this also goes on to affirm that position. Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa is joining us on Zoom right now. He's a member of parliament for the Northton constituency. He's been consistent about this. Mr. Ablakwa, thank you for your time on Ghana Tonight. So you've seen the detail and the statement from the presidency. Does it in any way give clarity contrary to the position that you held earlier?
So Albert, let me be very sincere with you. I have come to the firm conclusion that this country is in big trouble. We have a leader who doesn't listen, who has become so obstinate, so intransigent, so stony-hearted. He is impervious to good counsel. When you go through the latest report, which is the 2022 list of staffers at the presidency in compliance with the Presidential Office Act, it is totally incredible that at this time of the worst economic crisis in living memory, at a time that haircuts are taking place, financial haircuts, the first time in our history we are going through a debt restructuring program, the first time in our history that we have not been able to pay our loans. We have defaulted in the payment of our loan obligations. The first time that we as a country have been downgraded by all the credit rating agencies, from Fitch to Standard & Poor's to Moody's, at a time that everybody, civil society, the political parties, even for the first time, diplomats have entered the arena. And for good reason. They are saying you have come to us for debt restructuring, for debt forgiveness. We expect you to lead by example, be responsible, and reduce the size of your government, as the German ambassador told the president recently. In the midst of all of this, I mean, who would have imagined that President Akufo-Addo will increase the numbers at the presidency? The president, from the analysis we have done, has added 24 more to his already obese political appointees. He had 337 when you look at the 2021 report Parliament received. Now, the president has 361. He has added 24 more. Then you look at the list of the other category of workers, the civil and public servants. That has also gone up from 658 in 2021 to 687. So for the first time in this country's history, we have hit and actually crossed the 1,000 mark. It's never happened. We now have 1,048 political and non-political staffers at Ghana's presidency. I mean, mind-boggling, totally incredulous. And I've been doing the analysis. If you look at the political appointees category, declined to as low as 29 by the time the NDC was leaving office in terms of political appointees. Now, if you look at the numbers and you do the analysis, we are talking in excess of 450%. So what is going on? And what is worrying is that the president treats most of these appointees as Article 71 office holders. So all the perks, the privileges that Article 71 office holders enjoy, the vehicles, the housing, and the unpopular ex gratia, they all receive it. So it is clear to me that the president is unhinged, is totally reckless. He has decided that he will not listen. And I am deeply pained, I must emphasize, that unfortunately, the conduct by a few of our colleagues, NDC MPs in Parliament, that conduct has clearly emboldened the president. Because if the few who derailed from our principled position, we had said that too many jobs for the boys, the packing, the obnoxious positions, the amorphous and nebulous positions. I mean, look, I have run through the list in Parliament. Overseer of the National Cathedral, church mobilization officer, diaspora church mobilization officer, church relations manager, policy advocate, finance manager, operations manager. Then you have a manager of operations, all kinds of very weird and dubious titles at the presidency. And we have said this cannot continue. This is a president who at a point appointed as many as 125 ministers of state. As we speak, this is a country that can make do with consolidating a lot of the ministries. Why should we still have a separate ministry of agric from fisheries and aquaculture? Why should we still have a separate ministry from railways and transport? When they can be merged, they can be consolidated. Why should we have a separate ministry for sanitation and for local government? When not too long ago, under the previous NDC government, it was one ministry. Why should we have a separate ministry for information and communications? Not too long ago, it was one ministry. Why should we have a separate ministry for chieftaincy and tourism? So there are so many ministries that can be merged. The 1992 Constitution is very clear that you should have a cabinet of 10, minimum, maximum 19. We should really tell you that you don't need all of these hordes of political appointees, and see what is happening at the presidency. So this is very, 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 very disheartening. It's depressing. What the president has done is abominable. It's totally unacceptable. And it is really regrettable. It is really sad that a few of our colleagues really messed up the opportunity we had last Friday to send a clear message to the president. And you really cannot blame those who will say that perhaps the NDC has even lost its voice, it has lost credibility on this matter, because we, by our conduct, refusing to bond together, to stand by the Ghanaian people, by civil society, even religious organizations. I have read statements from the Catholic Bishop Conference, from the Pentecostal and Charismatic Council. Everybody has said that we cannot continue with this obscenely obese size of government, and that something ought to be done. But here we are. Clearly the president is now unhinged and is on a frolic of his own. We can only pray that he doesn't get to 1,500 at this rate. I mean, look, it's unthinkable. If you look at the numbers, the analysis I have done, the highest, if you add political and non-political, you combine that, the highest that this country has ever recorded was sometime in 2002 under President J.A. Kufuor.
I see.
Where we had 758, a total of 758 political and non-political.
I just wanted to hold you on a bit on that particular point.
Presidency. So we've never hit 1,000. Here we are, 1,048.
I see, but this statistic that has been put out by the Jubilee House, does it include the strange, as how you describe it, positions or portfolios that you made reference to, the technical advisor, and then also there's even one for NAPCO, even though the program has ended. Does it contain that? Because that document that you have in Parliament gives that detail, does it?
Yes, yes. Unfortunately, the president has not done away with those strange portfolios and all of those duplications. I mean, people in the communications set up alone, exceed 60. Multiple directors of communication, numerous deputy directors of communication. You have presidential advisor on communication, and you have an executive assistant to the presidential advisor. on communications. I mean, it's just a mess. And you wonder if really this is the country going through the most excruciating economic meltdown in living memory. A country that is telling everybody that, look, this economy has been destroyed, self-inflicted, we've overborrowed, debt to GDP is in excess of 100%, so we cannot meet our obligations to you. You can't get your coupons, you can't get back your life investments. The finance minister has just returned from China on a begging mission. When Vice President Kamala Harris came here a few days ago, you heard President Akufo-Addo begging her to talk to the IMF on our behalf, to talk to the Paris Club on our behalf. So you are begging everybody, and yet look at your conduct. I mean, you cannot lead by example. And look, I never imagined, because already the 2021 list was so high, the positions so dubious, that one expected that the president would clean up, would downsize, and would be sensitive, would be considerate to the Ghanaian people, who are really his employers. He owes us that modicum of respect, that scintilla of respect and dignity. But here we are, this president has really gone rogue, it must be said, thrown all caution to the wind, and he keeps packing the presidency. He keeps just appointing anybody in sight.
I see, but you know, I know you're still in Parliament. It's been a long day for you, and so we'll round it up. But you've been consistent about this size of government. There has to be a cut. But you agree that your colleague minority MPs failed you. They failed to stand with you on this particular position that you're on.
Not means words about that at all. I mean, I feel very embarrassed talking about last Friday. We had a golden opportunity to really let our actions align with our words. We had a golden opportunity to show a high sense of integrity during that secret voting. And some of our colleagues let the Ghanaian people down. Yes, I concede that a majority, more than 90, voted positively in the national interest. But I mean, to have over 30 people let us down. And unfortunately, on that day, no NDC MP can say that we didn't have a fighting chance. We had, because they were 136, we were 136. If we had all accounted for our numbers, we will have defeated every single nominee that the president put forward. All 8 of them, the 6 ministerial nominees and the two appointees for the judiciary. Here we are. All of them have gone through with numbers that are unbelievable. So I will concede that we let the Ghanaian people down, and we owe the Ghanaian people an apology. That's why I have written earlier, offering deep apology, even though I voted in good conscience with the Ghanaian people, and there are records of that. My party leadership have seen the records, and that's why I'm on the General Secretary's list, together with a good number of colleagues. But what some of our colleagues did is totally inexplicable. It is totally unjustified. It is totally unacceptable. That is why in my write-up, I said, why are they hiding? If they are proud of what they did, some of them should be out there defending it. Why is nobody owning up and saying that, look, this is my name, this is my constituency, I voted against the principal position? And what is shocking is that all the caucus strategy sessions we held, nobody said that, look, we are opposed to this campaign that some of us have waged for many years against the size of government, and that we think that President Akufo-Addo is on the right track. Nobody said that. Nobody raised a finger to question the fidelity, to question the principle, to question the patriotism defining our actions. And here we are, such treachery. There's no other word to use.
300.
It is that conduct that has clearly emboldened President Akufo-Addo to do what he's done. Now see where we are. More than 1,000.
I see.
1,048 presidential staffers. Unbelievable. I mean, what next? Where are we going?
Okay.
The Jubilee House has become some marketplace. I mean, what is happening?
Samuel Okujetua Blakwa, thank you for your time on Ghana Tonight. We've got to let you go. And you understand you're still rounding up the business of Parliament today, and tomorrow also expected to be a long day with the consideration of the revenue bill. So thank you for your time on Ghana Tonight. Samuel Okujetua Blakwa is Member of Parliament for the North Tongue constituency. Let's stay with Parliament a bit further on this, but let's hear from you. Very interactive on this particular issue. A number of you commenting about this latest release from the presidency about the staffing or the number of staff at the Jubilee House. But the anti-LGBTQ plus bill has moved a step closer to becoming law. But there's some interesting development, which we're going to let you into shortly. But this is what the Speaker said a couple of days ago.
Will be passed. This is the word to His Excellency the President. There is no way he can intervene. That answer he gave. That is now before Parliament. And when he gets to a stage that he will come in. Hey, please. This is legislation. This is not execution. The bill will be passed. This is the word to His Excellency the President. There is no way he can intervene. That answer he gave. That is now before Parliament. And when he gets to a stage that he will come in. Hey, please. This is legislation. This is not execution.
And presents its recommendation on the draft bill. They have acted. At a review of the draft bill, the Legal Committee has recommended some changes to the bill in an 18-page document that is now due for consideration by the entire floor of the House.
This bill, which many of you, in fact, are of interest in there, following how things will play out, is going to be laid before Parliament. The proposals by this committee that was charged, the Parliamentary Legal Affairs Committee charged to look into this bill, have made some proposals in an 18-page document. My colleague Dennis Wedam Poberi is joining me in studio. He's been combing through this 18-page document to break it down so we understand. Dennis, first off, we see the title of this bill as a subject for a proposed amendment. What does it say?
Well, so Alfred, if you look at the bill we have at the moment, it's actually undergone some modifications, and one of the key modifications is the change in the short title. Every bill, or which will eventually become an act, usually will have a short title and then a long title. The short title typically is the name of the bill, the name by which you refer to it. So you would notice that when this was first laid before Parliament, it came with the name Promotion of Proper Human Sexual Rights and Ghanaian Family Values Bill. But then, upon some considerations, including a legal opinion by the AG, the use of the word proper there, according to the AG, was subjective, because what may be proper to someone may not be proper to another.
I see.
So for that reason, his proposal was that, or his opinion was that the word proper be dropped. Then again, there was the issue of the use of Ghanaians in there. According to the AG, for all laws that are passed in Ghana, they apply to Ghanaians, except there's an express statement that it does not apply to Ghanaians. For that reason, there wasn't the need for the Ghanaians to be added. And that's the thinking that went into the change of the name from the Promotion of Proper Human Sexual Rights and Ghanaian Family Values Bill to what we now have as Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill.
I see. So they've proposed that the proper be taken off.
Yes.
And then
of course, the promotion too has been taken off. The argument made for it too is that to the extent that this bill, if eventually becomes a law, will be an expression of whatever is contained in that document. In essence, it is promoting it. So there's no need for us to have promotion in there and the proper, because it is subjective. There's no need for us to have it there. And of course, Ghanaians also taken out, because when the laws are passed, they apply to Ghanaians unless the contrary is implied, and
so,
I mean, especially stated.
So if this is approved by the House tomorrow, then this will stand?
Yes, so the name will then come,
the name.
yes, human with a year, and of course, they'll give it a number.
I see. So the next proposal of the proposed amendment to this is the long title, An Act to Provide for Proper Human Sexual Rights and Ghanaian Family Values. Let us into that, because that,
so like
that
I mentioned earlier, usually you'd have the short title and a long title. So the long title will be some sort of definition or an expression of what the law is supposed to do. So the proponents brought in the bill with this particular long title, and it read, An Act to Provide for Proper Human Sexual Rights and Ghanaian Family Values, Proscribe LGBTQ+ and related activities, proscribe propaganda. It went on and on and on and on. Per the AG's legal opinion, he thought it could have been simpler or easier. So his proposal was that it be read, An Act to Provide for Human Sexual Rights and Family Values and related matters.
I see.
That was considered, and that is what has been effected into the changes that we see today. So
the LGBTQ, I see the alphabets there.
Yes.
LGBTQQIAAP+ and relative or related activities.
Well,
that's also another subject of conversation or proposed amendment?
Yes. Quite a number of the letters of the alphabet indicated have been taken out, and this is because the proponents of the bill actually came in with what they call an application. So when you look at the first clause, it came with an application where they listed all the categories of people or activities that this act, the bill was supposed to apply to. So when you see the L there, the L stands for lesbian, the G stands for gay, the B stands for bisexual, T stands for transgender, the other T stands for transsexual, Q stands for queer, A stands for ally, and P stands for pansexual. As we go forward, you'd notice that there were some issues. For instance, queer, for instance, has been taken out.
The Q?
Yes, the Q has been taken out. Yes. The argument made for it is simple, that queer simply represents all the things that have been named. So it represents lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender. So there's no need to have it there. According to the committee, that would merely be superfluous to have it in there. The issue of an intersex.
That's the I.
Yes, there's an I somewhere, which is intersex, also came up strongly. And even before the AG had offered a legal opinion, there was that conversation about why an intersex should be criminalized, or you being an intersex should be criminalized. The argument made for that is that it's not always the case that an intersex is a product of you being an LGBTQ, but it could be biological. And for that reason, it will not be appropriate for it to be criminalized. So that has also been taken out. Interesting.
So the alphabets then now keep reducing, is that not?
Yes.
So now we don't have the LGBTQQIAAP+.
Not anymore.
So what's it going to be now?
So,
per the proposal. That is if it is eventually accepted by the plenary, correct? But what's the amendment position?
So when it's accepted, it will go on without. So anywhere you see Q, you take it out. If you see I, you take it out. So it will not read LGBT, T, AAP+.
Wow, I see. and you've so that's what you see there. So that's the AG's legal opinion on that. And then, as you explained to us quite eloquently. So what's the next one? That this act applies to a person who has a biological anomaly.
Yes. So I think we have dealt with this already, and that's the part that talks about the intersex. Yes. So it was deleted because the committee agreed that biological anomalies, including intersex, may be congenital and not necessarily being a product of LGBTQ. The other issue that was also considered was the fact that in this particular bill, there was a proposal that that criminalizes sexual intercourse between same sex, that's man, woman, and then a man and an animal, or a woman and an animal. Per the AG's legal opinion, he said that has already been covered by Act 29, that's our criminal code. and that for the reason that is been covered there, there's no need for them to repeat it, except they want to expand it. Okay. Now, this is the explanation that came in there. When you look at Act 29, the very section that we quote every day to say that unnatural carnal knowledge is not allowed in our practices, the AG makes the point that that particular section does not criminalize female and female sexual intercourse.
Right.
So, if it has to be expanded, then it will be expanded to include what is known as lesbianism.
I see.
So that proposal was taken. So the effect was that they had to modify the bill to now criminalize same-sex sexual intercourse between a female and a female, because unnatural carnal knowledge, by its definition, requires some penetration. But the explanation is that if two females are having an intercourse, there cannot be that penetration.
Okay.
There was also an interesting twist in there.
What you read is what is on the screen, correct?
Yes.
The criminalized sexual intercourse between same-sex and a man or woman and an animal, as well as pansexual, and made a second-degree felony.
So that was what originally was proposed. AG says that for the first part of it, which criminalizes sexual intercourse between same-sex, that is taken care of by Act 29. And of course, with the animal, it's also taken care of by Act 29. What was not in there was sexual intercourse between two females.
I see.
So he proposed that if there could be an expansion, the committee also considered that, of course, there needed to be that, so that lesbianism will now be a crime under our laws. There was also another inconsistency in there, which needed to be aligned.
Okay.
And that was because if you look at all those things that I've mentioned earlier, under our criminal code, it's a misdemeanor. But this particular bill made it a second-degree felony. What it meant was that if you were charged under this particular law, the punishment would be higher than if you were charged under our criminal code. So the AG says that for that reason, there was the need for them to align. So they had to align it properly. The interesting twist to this was, there was an addition that a man cannot have a marriage with an object. That was not in our laws.
I see. But now I see that in the point 2.
Yes.
Under the changes.
Yes. So now it's an offense for one to marry an object.
So marriage between a person and an object.
So a man marrying an object or a woman marrying an object is a criminal offense.
Per the proposal until it is approved.
Yes, so that is the modification now. So if it's approved in this form, what it means is that you can't marry an object like we hear elsewhere that people have gotten married to our laptops.
Absolutely. Right on. I mean, marrying the laptop. Interesting relative analysis that you do there. Let's look at this one. Criminalize sexual intercourse between same-sex and a man or a woman and an animal, as well as... Okay, so we've looked at this. We've looked at this. So that's a person who uses the media or technological platform to publish and disseminate materials directed at a child commits an offense and is liable. So what's the AG's legal opinion on this?
Yes, so the AG agreed wholly with this expression here. The only even when you look at the AG's opinion, he said it was in the public interest and it was consistent with Article 12(2) of the 1992 Constitution. So this actually was also taken, except that it was just modified to align, because we have a similar law in our Cybersecurity Act, and that was taken into consideration. So essentially, these are some of the things. There are quite a number of changes that have been made in this particular act, including the one that talks about using the media to propagate propaganda or trying to support in any way the activities of LGBTQ. So all those things have been captured in there. They've done an extensive work looking at clause by clause and making all the modifications as and when they thought was necessary.
Interesting stuff. And then it's great detail that you give to us. And just to break it down in simple language so that our viewers can follow quite closely. This is available on TV3 Ghana on Facebook. You can go back, play it, and understand the proposed amendments to this anti-LGBTQ plus bill. Let's go on to the telephone now. And the Member of Parliament for the South Dyke constituency, who is a member of this Parliamentary Select Committee on Legal and Parliamentary Affairs that's charged with the responsibility of this bill, Nelson Roxon Dafia-Mekpo, is a private legal practitioner as well, joining us. Thank you for time. So what went into these proposed amendments by your committee?
Not at all. First of all, good evening to your viewers if we are on TV, and good evening to your listeners if we are on radio.
We are on TV. Yes.
Every bill, let me make the point that pursuant to Article 106 of the Constitution, every bill that is accompanied by a memorandum and brought to Parliament for it to be enacted into law goes through some reform. The reformation may depend on the quality of the bill that has been brought. And our bill, the anti-LGBT bill, is one of the most quality bills that I have seen in my life in Parliament for the past 7 years. Yes, even government's own bills, sometimes they are even rejected. I have been in Parliament and government brought a bill that was rejected because it was horribly drafted. They had to go back and put their house in order.
Mm-hmm.
Our bill has gone through some process that is reviewed by the committee as a result of the nearly 150 memoranda that is attracted from private citizens, groups, entities, companies, and all.
Yeah.
And as a committee, we took our time to review nearly every memoranda, as well as the people who sponsored this memoranda. We listened to them and collated their inputs to feature in the bill. So if anybody says that a bill that comes to Parliament will go through some amendments, it's not speaking truly to or has very little understanding of how legislation process works. But by and large, our bill has not been materially changed. The government of the bill, the issues that we raise, the issues that we feel strongly about, have all been maintained in the bill that will be coming to the floor tomorrow, hopefully, when the report is taken. The report has been laid today. Hopefully, it will be debated tomorrow and adopted with the proposed amendment exhibited to the report that will feature when we go to the consideration. So,
okay.
If you look at, for instance, the one you mentioned, which is the prison term, we proposed 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
But we discovered later on that
that's what you have there.
the Parent Act, which is Act 29, the
Mm-hmm.
provisions regarding all misdemeanor deals with a maximum prison term of 3 years. So if you are describing the conduct such as this, conduct prescribed by the law, that is an LGBT conduct that is prescribed by law,
mm-hmm.
and you are proposing 5 years, then it means you are enlarging the original remit of the law regarding maximum sentence for misdemeanors from 3 years to 5 years. And so at sponsor, we agreed to such an amendment because we don't want to open the floodgate in that matter. So, but what it means is that whatever it is, if you engage in an LGBT conduct which is prescribed by law, there's a prison term of about 3 years for you, or a fine, or both. It is so punitive in that case. But as lawyers will tell you, one of the key reasons for sending people to prison when they commit an offense is actually to reform them. So the essence of prescribing a prison term for such conduct prescribed by law is not really to, as it were, punish the people, but to get them to reform. And so the thematic areas of the bill have survived. And that's the beauty of it. The Attorney General's views or memo hasn't materially changed this bill, as the President has been misled into saying at all.
We'll see how tomorrow plays out, and thank you so much. Nelson Roxon Dafiamekpo is a member of Parliament for the South Dyke constituency, and this matter then is going to be a subject matter for tomorrow in Parliament, correct?
Certainly. Like he mentioned, this will be debated and possibly adopted.
We'll see, and we'll keep an eye on what happens in Parliament. And let's go on to Zoom now, and related to issues with Parliament and how the final day of this session of Ghana's 8th Parliament will end. A number of things expected to play out tomorrow. My colleague Komla Kluche, who is our Parliamentary Affairs correspondent, is joining us on Zoom quickly to give us just a quick preview of what's going to be happening tomorrow. Komla, thank you so much for joining us on Ghana Tonight. So how is the last day of Parliament going to look like tomorrow?
Well, one of the major things that they are going to be looking at is the revenue bills. Mm-hmm. And these bills, as they would be looking at, is purposely a prerequisite for the IMF deal. What it is that as we speak now, the minority said that they are not supporting this. In fact, it's been a position that they've held for a very long time, at least since November, when the budget was presented. They said they are not going to be a part of it. But what it is that if the report is made available to the House tomorrow, well, the process would just be about going to have a vote, a voice vote. If the voice vote is hard and it's not challenged, whoever catches the speaker's eye or ears, especially the ears of the speaker, regarding the yes or the nays, the speaker has the discretion to. But if it's challenged, then that will boil down to numbers. Numbers herein, as we speak now, the NDC is 136. The MPP is 136 as we speak now. We know the Kumewu MP is not there, but the 136 in addition to the independents who caucuses with them. What we do know, 23 hours. What we do know is that Sarah Josapo, who for some time now has not been coming to Parliament, it does appear that some conviction or some conviction has been done to her. In the past 2 or 3 days, she's been in the House. Even today, she was in the House. If she's able to turn up tomorrow, most likely she might be voting for. She might be voting for the bill. Then that means that the bill would have gone through. But as we speak now, at least before going on air, my checks indicates that all the MPs from both sides who have gone out of the country, especially after the voting last week Friday, a good number of them have returned. The NDC side, the roll call that I checked from my sources within tells me that 136 of them are in the country as we speak.
I appreciate your time on this, and I know that you're going to be in Parliament to update our viewers and listeners on radio as well. Thank you. Komla Kluche is our Chief Parliamentary Affairs correspondent. Thank you so much for staying with us here on Ghana Tonight. On behalf of the rest of the team, we appreciate your company. I am Alfred Ocansey. Have a good night.
Ghana Tonight is brought to you by Flamingo Paint. Superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage, simply superior.